Hello everybody and welcome back again to my channel. I'm glad to have you back. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Michaela and today I'm going to be talking a little bit about my journey with weight loss. Now before we get into anything, I want to make it exceedingly clear that in no way am I giving any kind of medical advice, weight loss advice. You should always make sure you check in with a doctor, physician, dietitian, all of those kind of things before you make any drastic changes to your lifestyle, before you try any new medications, anything like that. So I'm just here to talk about what I've been through and what I've experienced and sort of where I'm at, because I do have a lot of people ask me, and I think it's important that we talk about everything that's going on in the world and everything that's going on in the media, I guess, in terms of weight loss and how society feels about it. I'm probably not going to really get that deep into it. All I can really do is talk about my experience and what I've been through and hope that one of you guys relates to it in some way, or maybe I can kind of, I don't know, give advice in some way, but I'm not telling you to go and do anything. I'm just sort of telling you what I can. I know that's all very vague and weird, but I know that I have a lot of people that I speak to on a regular basis who are interested in diets and medications and things like that, and I can tell you what my experience was on those things when I tried them. So that's kind of the basis of this video, is just talking about that so that maybe it can educate people a little bit, or like alleviate some fears that people have around these things. It's sort of just tell all of my experience, and hopefully you guys can draw something from that. If you can't, that's absolutely fine. Thank you for being here anyway. If this video isn't for you, that's fine. I will see you next week, but let's just dive on in. I think that's probably the best way to do this. Okay, I'm gonna start out by saying, if you don't know already, if you don't know me or anything about my history, I was born with a heart condition. So because of that, I have always found it really difficult to work out or play sports or do anything like that. So for pretty much my entire life, I have been on the chunky side, whether that is obese or morbidly obese or just a little bit overweight. I have kind of fluctuated a lot throughout my life, but primarily the reason that sort of started it all was just my inability to kind of get out there and join in. I can do like a day of really good activity, whether that's like playing a sport or something like that, and then especially when I was younger, that one day would have me wrecked for like a week or more, or at least a few days. As I grew up, I obviously learnt a lot more about my limits when it comes to things, doing physical or even just being out of the house for a while. When I was very sick with my heart, it was really hard to even get out of the house. So I've pretty much always, for majority of my life, been some form of overweight. However, as much as I knew that, and definitely always compared myself to my peers. As much as I knew and compared myself to other people, like my friends and things like that, it wasn't necessarily something that I was overly concerned about when I was younger. And the kind of worry of, oh yeah, I'm bigger, but I should do something about that, didn't really start until I was about 17, 18 years old. So while I have always been on the bigger side and weighed a little bit more and always been very aware of that, there was nothing kind of in my head or in my mindset that went, I should do something about this. Maybe this isn't like the best thing, you know? And I think as much as like I always knew that I was overweight, it was sort of one of those things where I never realized quite how bad, especially as I got older, until the age of about, I want to say 25, 26 was when I was at my biggest, and even then I didn't think I was as big as I was. So definitely a little bit of a wake-up call I think I had when I saw some photos of myself, and when I don't want to say moved to Australia, because I did start this weight loss journey that I'm a part of now right after Mark left, because I kind of used that time in 2023 to focus on myself. And the main thing that I decided was, I want to get healthier, I want to lose weight, I want to become the best version of myself while I have this time to focus on me. Now this is probably easily the 10th, 20th time I've started some sort of fitness journey or weight loss journey, and I feel like a lot of us have been there, right? We all have the best intentions, the best thoughts, and for me it usually only lasts a couple of days to a week or two, maybe even a month if we're going to stretch it, before you kind of just give up and fall back into old habits. So I have definitely fallen prey to that a million times over. I have tried everything in terms of like doing it by myself, doing it with a friend, or having like a group chat of friends where we kind of checked in on each other, and it just never worked for me because in my head, in my mind, I wasn't ready to dedicate myself to make that actual change. It was always the fact, for me, it was like people are telling me that I'm fat, they're telling me that I should lose weight, so I should do that. So for those ages between about 18 and 25, it was always other people want me to do this and never I want to do this. And if I can say anything in this video that you take in, is that you are not going to commit to bettering yourself in any way until you are ready. So as much as I tried and did all these different diets and went to the gym and tried different forms of exercise, until you're doing it for yourself and you're mentally ready to make that change permanently, it's never going to happen. And that is very much what I went through. I remember getting to our wedding and I was about 94 kilos, and I remember I had been trying really, really hard to lose a bit of weight, and I had lost a couple of kilos at that point, so I was feeling not great but not bad. And then when our wedding photos came back, honestly, the first time I looked at those photos, I was absolutely heartbroken, because I remember feeling just like a princess on the day of my wedding. You know, I loved my hair and my dress and my makeup and all of these things, and it just felt like the most perfect day that I have the most like fondest, happiest memories of. And then when we got the photos back, I was heartbroken. I was distraught because of how I looked. And it did take a few months of me putting them aside and not ever looking at them again until I was ready to kind of face that truth. And I don't think anybody really knew or noticed it, but we did have people asking about our wedding photos and can we see them and when do we get copies, and we always just said when we're ready, we'll do it when we're ready, it's not a big deal. But for me at least, it was because I didn't want to look at those photos because I didn't like how I looked. Now I absolutely love them because I love myself a lot more now, regardless of how I look. Am I perfect with my relationship with my body? Absolutely not. I still have days and weeks and even months where I'm like, ugh, you know, I can't stand any of this. But definitely something that I've learnt while trying to lose weight is just being kinder to myself. And that takes so much work. It's not like you can just flip a switch and all of a sudden be perfect at it. It's something that I know I have to wake up every single day and choose to be nice to others and myself. So I think that point of our wedding was definitely a big turning point for me. And I was 24 when I was married. So 18 to 24, I kind of knew that I was overweight and that it had become a problem, but I was sort of fucking around, in all honesty, messing around, not really trying that hard to do anything about it. And I did balloon up to around that 100 kg mark, managed to hit 94 by the time we got married. And then after that, it kind of was just like a snowball. Like I wanted the best for myself, but didn't have that commitment in my brain to do anything about it. Yeah, that's literally the long and short of it. So when Mark left in 2023 was when I was at my highest weight. Now, does his leaving have anything to do with this? No, but that's how I'm kind of keeping track of the timeline in my head, you know. It's easy to say, you know, I don't know exactly what time it was, but what I can tell you, it was when Mark left in 2023, which I believe was October. So October 23 was where I was at my highest weight, and honestly, I was done with it. I was over it. I was seeing photos of myself everywhere that I hated, that I didn't want to look at. I didn't want to be in photos. I didn't want to be around anybody. We had gone on 2 holidays, one to Australia and one to Rarotonga, where, you know, I didn't want to put on a swimsuit. I didn't want to get in any kind of water because I was at the point where I was truly ashamed of how I looked. And like I said, Mark leaving kind of left me alone, and that was really, really hard for both of us, so we both used it as a chance to work on ourselves individually. And for me, that meant finally kind of knuckling down and fixing my relationship with my weight and my body and just how I looked at everything in the world, I think, because I was struggling a lot back then mentally, and I think I really needed something to work on, and it just seemed to be the easiest thing in that time was myself. It was the thing that I always had access to. It was the thing that never left my side or left me alone. It was definitely one of the most urgent things, because I talk about it a lot, you know, I'm nearing 30, I'm going to be 30 in just a few months now, but back at that time I was thinking, you know, I'm nearly 30, I'm a real adult, and how I look after myself and my health now is going to impact how I am in another 30 years. So I think having that time to really just focus on me is what flicked that switch and made me realize that it really is now or never.
Hi. Aw, thanks. You're so cute.
So, this is where it began. It was October 23, I was at my highest weight, which was 108.4 kilos, and yes, when you're trying really hard to lose weight, anything counts. So, I have cat hair in my mouth. So yes, the 0.4 counts, and it matters to me because everything matters. When you're trying so hard to make any form of like progress, even 0.1 matters, you know? So that's where I was. I was essentially 110 kilos, and I had decided enough was enough. So I really threw myself into eating better, but also eating less, because I unfortunately do have a bit of a habit of just eating when I'm bored or when I have some emotions that I don't want to deal with. And obviously I was going through this time of, I work from home, I'm home all the time, I don't have anything to do, therefore I'm always bored. Plus, my husband, the person I love most in the entire world, is in a completely other country, so I'm really sad about that, and I'm dealing with a lot of emotions, and the best way to numb all of those things is to just eat. That's how I have always functioned. And is it healthy? No, but it's something that I'm still actively working on. I still do it to this day, but at least now I'm more like emotionally aware of what's going on, and a lot of the time I can sit there and say, you don't actually want to eat that, why don't you just get a drink instead, or why don't you go find something to do, or you know, if you're sad, just be sad, it's okay. But yes, I was at my heaviest, decided enough was enough, and so I started going to the gym every single night. And I lived with a flatmate at the time. He moved in with me when Mark left, just because I'm absolutely fucking terrified of living alone, to be honest. I don't know if I can ever do it. Regardless, and we would go to the gym every night at different times, but we'd overlap, and I made sure that I was eating a little bit better, not even necessarily flipping the script on myself to eat, you know, the most wholesome, raw, happy, perfect foods, but you know, if I was still eating that takeout, just eating less, eating it less often, eating smaller portions of it. Small changes like that when you're first starting out are absolutely huge, and honestly, it worked so well for me, because you know, I didn't turn around and go, you can't have KFC, you can't have burgers, all you can eat is lettuce and air, because that would have just made me more miserable, you know. Like, I instead said, yeah, you can still have KFC, but you know, it's a Monday and maybe we're only going to have takeout twice this week, so is Monday the best time to have it? It's one of the best days of the week. Why don't you leave it for a shittier day in the week when you really don't feel like cooking? So it is sort of, for me, negotiating with myself, and if that's what it takes, that's what it takes, you know, especially when you're starting out, you're forming new habits, and forming new habits is really hard work. So if you got to negotiate with yourself a little bit, I'm not going to judge you on that. And so between October of 23 and July of 24, had to do some really quick math then. See, it's hard to remember months. I could have just said between when Mark left and when I left. October 23, July of 24, I managed to go from 100 kilos, not 100, 110 kilos down to 101. So I did lose some weight by myself, just by going to the gym every day, apart from maybe the weekends, or I started swimming a lot. So it was either the gym or swimming, one of those two things, and not even eating any better foods, just eating less. Those two things combined really, really helped me. Then I got to Australia and immediately went to try and sort out my health, and the very, very first thing they did, I saw this doctor. He was very straightforward and it really hurt my feelings, but honestly it's what I needed to hear. Is he straight up put his hand on my shoulder and he said, "Michaela, you are very fat." And I went, "Thank you, I'm aware." No, but for real, he did say that. He said, "Please lose some weight. In fact, I'm going to put you on weight loss medication." And I said, "You know what? Sure." Because I've always said that if I could have some help losing the weight, I'm sure that I could keep it off. I've always told myself that from literally that like 18 years old. It's the, oh, getting the weight off is what's really, really hard, but I could totally keep it off, you know? Foreshadowing. So yeah, I went on Wegovy, and did it work? Abso-frickin-lutely, but you need to be really aware if this is something that you're considering, that it has some really gnarly side effects. For me, it was vomiting, constant nausea all the time, really horrific heartburn, and dizziness, especially when I changed jobs and ended up in a job where I'm squatting down and standing up. Really horrific dizziness. So, did it work? Yes. And when I was on my low dosage and high body fat, it worked really well. But obviously my dose got higher and I lost a whole lot of weight. So very, very quickly that dosage became too high for my body. And what happened was I got to the point where I couldn't even keep water down. It's just anything that was entering my body in any capacity was immediately being thrown up. So was the medication still working? Technically yes, but I was essentially starving myself, and that's why the weight was falling off. So just be super, super careful with these kind of things. It's not exactly the most expensive one on the market. I think I paid about $250 to $350 depending on what the dosage like was, because obviously the higher your dosage the more expensive it gets. So it was one that I could definitely afford at the time, but we got to the point where after 6 months on it, I just could not tolerate being on it anymore because I was feeling horrific all the time because I couldn't keep anything in my body. While I was on Wegovy though, I did lose 12 kilos. So I went from that 101 down to 89 kilos. So I did really well on that. I loved it. I was happy. I was feeling great. That happened in 6 months. So the thing that I was really concerned about with that is like excess skin. If you're losing weight very, very quickly, that does happen. That's always been a bit of a worry of mine, but ultimately I'm in the place where skin is a cosmetic thing. It's very much a visual aspect, and if fixing my health and making sure that my body is in good working order takes, you know, a little bit of a toll on the visual state of my body for now, that's where I need to be. I can always fix the visual things later. I just need to make sure I'm healthy. So I stopped Wegovy and I thought, I'm going to do this by myself for a few months. We're going to see how we go. And I took 6 months off. What happened was I actually was able to keep the weight off. I think I got back up to 90 kilos. So I put a kg on, and that is very, very common when you're on these weight loss medications. Just by the way, again, for anybody who's thinking of doing this, it's really common that you lose all of this weight, and then when you stop that medication, very common to gain about 10 kgs back. Now, I didn't have that to gain back because that's all I had lost. So we were really working very hard. I was watching what I was eating significantly healthier this time, and going to the gym. Now, did that last? I would love to say yes, but it absolutely didn't, because hey, nobody's perfect. And I fucked up a little bit, alright? I fell off the wagon. So at this point I chose to go back on Wegovy because I'm thinking, look, I've gained a few kilos and I'm really struggling to get it off now, so we'll jump back on the medication. Did it work? It went straight back to the issue that I was having, even starting on a lower dose. So there's something going on within my body that just does not like that medication anymore, and the second that it enters my body, it kind of triggers me to just be horrifically ill all of the time. So unfortunately, Wegovy is a no-go for me anymore, and I switched over to Mounjaro. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it. For those of you who have looked into it, you'll already know that Mounjaro is significantly more expensive than Wegovy, and this was costing me about $500 a month. And did it work? Honestly, I think it would. I went on to the same dosage of Mounjaro as I was of Wegovy, which was not a high dose at all, and I knew I was going to have to go up, which was going to make it more expensive, and honestly, I just can't afford that where I am right now. Back then, Couldn't afford it, now still can't afford it. But what was happening was it was working, just very, very slowly. And obviously, if you up the dosage, it's going to work faster. That's what we were working towards. But I was very honest with my doctor and I just said, look, I can't afford that right now. I really can't. And he's great. So he was like, you know what, just do your best. I'll help you with guides and support as much as I can, and maybe we can revisit that in the future. Would I try again with weight loss medication? Yeah, I think I would, because it does work. You just have to be very, very careful and make sure you're watching your side effects, okay? Keep an eye on your side effects very, very closely. Do not ignore them with medications like this, because it can be so important. That's another really good message to take away from this video. If you want to go on weight loss medication, please be careful. Do your research. Know the signs of when things are maybe not right. So, since then, not on any weight loss medication anymore. I have gained some weight back. I don't know if you guys will notice, but typically when I gain weight, the very first place that gains weight on me is my face. I tend to get a bit swollen, a bit spongy, especially around this lower section of my face. Currently, as of filming this video, I am back up to 92 to 94. I'm kind of fluctuating quite a bit right now, but it's in that 2 kilo range. Am I happy about it? Absolutely not, but I'm still working on it. So I'm doing a few different things in terms of like working out and staying active. I'm not the healthiest when it comes to my heart health at the moment, so I cannot push myself to do a whole bunch of amazing things, but I try and work out about 4 times a week. At the moment, I do a lot of walking on the treadmill at the gym, but I've also just done my swim fundraiser for February. My goal is to do 2 days of walking, 2 days of swimming every week, and honestly, that's enough for me right now. So in terms of my weight loss journey, is it over? Absolutely not. But I think it has kind of grown into something a little bit more than just, hey, I'm gonna lose weight because I don't like the number on the scale. Don't get me wrong, it definitely still revolves around that in a lot of ways. I do go through periods where I am obsessed with that number on the scale, then definitely some ways that aren't the healthiest, but it's also kind of progressed into I need to be healthier and just make better choices so that my body can support me as long as possible as I age. Also, there are a lot of activities that I like doing and want to do that I would like to be able to have the opportunity to do, and a lot of those have either weight or health restrictions, so the better that I look after myself, the more is going to be open to me as I kind of go through life. You guys know that I love adventuring and doing weird stuff and crazy stuff, and a lot of those things do come with restrictions around your body and your health. So the more that I look after myself and make sure that I'm in like a good place, the more of those things I'm going to be able to do, and that is my goal. Like I said, at the time of filming this video, I'm currently weighing 92 to 94. My ideal weight for me, where I know that I really used to love my body, love how I looked, is around 80. So I do still have at least about 10 kilos to lose. That's where I would be really happy with the number on the scale. But you know, as I work, I feel like I have to sneeze. As I work on it and as I kind of get through things, it is more for me about how I look to myself in the mirror and how I feel with my body. And I am going through a bit of a lull in my health at the moment where it's not the best. I am having a little bit of a tough time and a bit where I'm struggling, but it just means that I have to kind of take it slow and do what I can while I'm down here, and then when I'm feeling a little bit better, I can kind of ramp up on my like fitness and all of that kind of things. So at the moment, 4 times a week is enough for me exercise wise. Mark and I do like to get out and kind of explore little walks or beach walks or things like that, which aren't really exercise in my mind. They're just kind of something a little bit extra, and I do have at the moment what I would class as a fairly physical job, not because it's like heavy lifting or anything like that, but I am on my feet for my entire shift and I work 5 to 6 days a week. So we're getting there, we're dealing with it, we're learning a lot still. I definitely think that a weight loss journey and a health journey grows. I don't know if that's the right word, but as you grow, your journey changes, I think is what I'm trying to get at. So just be aware that if you are struggling with your weight, you're not alone. It happens to millions of people in this world, and you're probably always going to be not struggling to some degree, but learning. So some days you'll wake up and you'll get on a really good roll and you'll feel like you've got this great handle on it and this is it, I've done it, it's over. And then, you know, 2 weeks later you might wake up and be back in a really, really difficult spot. And that's okay. It happens to everybody. I'm currently there now. That's one of the reasons I'm making this video, is just because I know that my appearance changes a lot as my weight fluctuates, and the main place that you see it is my face. So I talk a lot on my channel about my health and everything that I'm going through, and I, for one, wanted to hold myself accountable to what I've done and what I'm doing. Two, I want to share my experiences, like I said at the start of this video, because a lot of people do ask me questions about it, and this is just a really easy way for me to answer them. And three, if I do continue to gain weight or lose weight, either way, the first thing that is going to change is my face. So if you guys see that, just know that there's stuff going on in the background. I don't try and mention my weight or my medications or my health in every single video, but it is very, very easy for people to typically see if I'm going through some shit. So just be aware, if my face changes, it's fine, we're fine. I don't want to make this video super duper long, and I've probably been rambling for like long enough about this, so I'm going to kind of start to wrap up. And I think my only advice for anybody who is here to get something out of a video like this would be, you really got to do this for yourself and your life and your future. You can't be doing it because, you know, someone else wants you to, because a doctor's told you to, or maybe someone made you feel bad by not, you know, thinking that you're pretty, or saying they want to date you, or you know, things like that. And it happens. That happens to everybody. It happened to me, you know. It's one of those things where as I was saying, it's one of those things where I think everybody who has been overweight has experienced in some way, you know, the rough reality of people treating you differently, or treating you poorly, more to the point, or just telling you to your face, hey, you're fat. And it's like, yes, I know, but that still hurts. So if you are truly ready to make a difference and a change and start your own journey that is not going to be this like one-off, you know, it really is a lifestyle change and a mindset change, and you have to be ready here before you're ready anywhere else. So you can be like, yeah, I'm gonna go to the gym, or yeah, I'm gonna eat better and maybe I'll be less fat, but it's definitely a mind game of sorts. You've got to be ready to be looking after yourself and doing better for you. Like for me, as much as this video is about like my weight loss, I definitely could not have done it if I didn't get my head in the right spot first. So there's a lot that goes into it. It really is turning up every day, and yes, doing the hard yards physically, but also mentally. And make sure you've got like a good support system around you, because you need it regardless of what it is. You know, it's not like you're going through, I was gonna say anything life-changing, but in all honesty, from my perspective, I am only down not quite 20 kilos at this point. I was 20 kilos down, but obviously I've put a little bit back on. I'm down about 16 at the moment, and it has been life-changing. I've got so much more to lose, and I know that it can only get better for me because I feel really good in myself. I just, so much more is open to me already, and I still know, like I am still a plus size person to some degree, you know. I wear a size 14 to 16 now, maybe an 18 depending on the type of pants, and I was wearing a 20 to 22. So there have been drastic changes that are big enough for me to be able to say this to you, to have enough experience. Don't get me wrong, I'm not like a guru or some fucking doctor or anything like that, but I've experienced enough to say that looking after yourself is worth it. but there are many, many different ways to do it. If you want to go the hard yards and just knuckle in and exercise every day, please just be healthy and look after yourself. Also, make sure you're eating correctly, make sure you're resting correctly. If you decide that you need the medication to help you out, to give you a bit of a kickstart, maybe you've got another medical condition that makes it really difficult to lose weight like what I have, please don't let anybody judge you or make you feel like you're not doing it the right way, because there's no right way. You know, everything is different, everything's going to suit people differently, and I think the main thing is just that you're making the effort to better yourself and to have a good life. And that's what I tell myself every day, and every time that I end up in a little bit of a slump like where I am now, is just, okay, maybe now is not my time, maybe now is a rest time, and maybe we'll come back to it tomorrow or Monday or in a month from now and think, right, I'm ready to kick ass again, we're gonna get this done. So that's just my opinion on things. As always, I really appreciate you guys coming to my channel and watching my videos. I hope that this has helped you in some way, but if you do have any questions for me or you want me to talk more in depth about anything, please pop them down in the comments. I see pretty much all of them. I read every comment, I reply to every comment as much as I can. If I miss you, I'm sorry, I do my best not to do that. And if you want to see more of my content, please make sure you subscribe. I upload every Sunday at 7 AM Brisbane time, so hopefully I will see you there. Bye.